perfecting this language is realizing everything's connected. Everything you see, it's just like it's blown apart and trying to gather it all in, but it's all the deed that fulfills the title. It's the exchange of an inheritance. The deed begets the title.
Because Ken and I have had people say this before, that much of what we're sharing, they already know. Mm-hmm. Like Spirit already revealed this to them. The beauty in the language is that there are times where Spirit will share something with us that is so new, that is so outside of the box of our religious programming within like the Christian narrative and what the Bible or what different churches and different denominations teach, that when the Spirit drops it in you, it's kind of a cognitive dissonance that happens, because you're like, whoa, how come I'm thinking of this? I have never been taught this before. I don't see it in English. And so you start doubting what the Spirit is dropping within you. Although you feel a resonance, you feel something vibrating, and you're like, oh, but that feels right, but I can't touch it in the word. And then what happens? The ego gets in, and the ego starts having fear. I'm being deceived. I'm listening to seducing spirits. You can just follow that rabbit trail, and it can spin us out of control. But what I have found is that through the sacred languages, much is validated through the languages themselves, so that you can trust that the Spirit that you are listening to is leading you in the direction that you need to go, and it's absolute, so that you don't have to doubt it anymore, because we all learn what that frequency feels like. Some people call it the Holy Spirit, some people call it the Oversoul, some people call it the higher self, the absolute self, God. There's many different frequencies and names that you can give to it, but the sacred languages verify that which a Spirit has already told you, which has already released it in you. And what does that allow us to do? To have a sigh of relief. Oh, good, I have been hearing. And then we at that point, we can choose to enter into the absolute state of being of that which has been revealed, instead of it just having a question mark hanging out there. Like, is this really the truth? And that's why I love the languages, because it does allow that to drop in. You can see it with your head and decipher it and go through that translation process, combined with what the Spirit is already revealing it to you, so it becomes intimate knowledge. So Andre, like you were talking about gnosis is the Greek. There's the cat. Mm-hmm. Gnosis is the Greek word for knowledge. In Hebrew, it's yada, which is intimate knowing. And that place of intimate knowing, you could actually say that that intimate knowing would be like the bet with the dagesh. That cannot be removed from you, because you've actually become one with it. It is fused. Ken has been speaking about fusion lately. It has become fused within you, within your DNA. You are now resonating to it, and it cannot be removed from you. That is intimate knowledge, yada, which is the hidden Sephirot on the tree of light. If you look at Kabbalah teachings, we don't teach Kabbalah. We haven't studied Kabbalah. I know much of what we share is part of the Kabbalah system. It's just, again, that is a religious system that was created. And yes, it is mysticism, but organically, Spirit has been revealing this stuff to us, and we validate it by what the letters are saying. So it helps with the black fire and the white fire unifying.
I kind of see it this. I appreciate that connecting, because a lot of people, to connect with you, said that you already have a knowing of this. I think that's wonderful. All of us do have a knowing of some degree. And I kind of draw it this way to connect with what Carrie was saying too, is like, you're coming from this place right here. Like, you already have this resonance of seraphim, and it's more like the spiritual. I always draw things in arc potentials. And so like, you comprehend this lofty concept that the white fire, you already have this knowing of all these concepts. And all of us have degrees of this. And we're connecting with you as a foundation. We're bringing ether fire, and we're bringing more of a foundation language. This is all convex and concave language. And so this is all contract. And so what we're able to assist now is to connect your resolve from where you are to there, in hopes that we can draw this together. Some of us have a grounding already, and we're seeking the white fire. Some of us have more black fire, but the whole process is to resolve this as a sphere. Right? We've taken it now, and this by definition is called sound. We all have components of lofty concepts, but we have to connect it with the earth, to the found. That's why the language is here, to say, I'm here as a foundation. I'm here as something in this world, in the construct, to teach you how to hollow yourself out. And when you hollow yourself out, there's a language of like a rising, because as we hollow, we automatically go into the rising. This is all the connection of bringing the ethereal into the material world again. And this is the great intercourse. This is the great crossing. This is the sea of the expanse. We're crossing the sea of an expanse. From dry dock, from the earth, we're moving into the celestial sea to marry them again. But we have to learn integration of what it is to be this lofty concept. We have to learn this heavenly good and bring it into the earth of reality. So that's how I see things as spherical, because you're creating your own atmosphere. That's the definition of sphere. It's off of the 2D reality now. You're actually in the intention of a 3D concept, and everything around you is now dependent on your integration and size now. What's your influence? What's your reach of atmosphere, dimension? This is solely dependent on your willingness to go into this revelation of what is lofty, to ground it in the earth. Mother and father again, just a different way to see it. This is the piercing that comes in to integrate us in the earth, to say, you've always been one. Do you know this? And if you know that, again, have you been seeking? Have you been finding? Have you been inquiring? What is it that you're finding? What is that you're becoming? Where is your state of being? And so there's always a foundation and there's always a ceiling. This is how we close the distance to become encapsulated as one resolve. It's a law. Because everything is based, like Carrie said, yada, the intimate knowing. It means that's intercourse. The intimate knowing is based on our groundwork, because there's many people on here that we've talked privately. They have lofty concepts. We're just sharing. We're trying to connect it, because a lot of people's like, I've been here, I've done this. And then all this is doing is solidifying that resolve of what you already know. And it's going to come like that. You're going to say, I have this knowing. I had a dream last night. I know I'm a dimensional being. And now we're just slipping this under your feet to say, yes, you now have truth to stand upon. It verifies you. Now you're completely in the place you no longer need validation, and I call you invalidated, which is the place of everything and nothing. And so that's all we're really doing, is slipping things under your feet to steady your stand. You already know the spirit is already within you. So this will move at light speed. You're actually pulling down heaven. You may not know it, but you actually are. The deeper you go into your resolve, right? You're pulling down lofty concepts, and it comes and it comes and it comes and it builds upon itself. The next thing you know, there you are as sound being.
Yes, Jody, I did say the Shekinah glory is our shadow. The only way for God's glory to be shared, the Shekinah, through the divine feminine energy, is you must travel through your shadow and transmute it. So it's the potential of God's glory to be revealed by every shadow that you are turning into the light.
That's the
taking
mystery.
The things that are not and making them into the state of that which is, turning it into the Aleph. That's why you guys, this is a little advanced, but you guys will see this when you start working between the Hebrew and the Aramaic. We're starting with the Hebrew first because it's masculine and it's more building the form so that we can take you into the Aramaic. But what you'll see many times over in the Aramaic is you'll see the Aleph that we're talking about, the absolute state of being, on the suffix side of the word, which has to do with that feminine energy, has to do with the shadow aspect, has to do with because remember that Aleph was hidden in the bet. It went into a state of hiddenness in the bet. So as we're building it, as we're transmuting it, the shadow, all of our trauma, all of our pains, our sufferings, our separations, our fear of abandonment, all of those things that the ego adopts, because the ego really is what enters in when the bet is present. That's when the ego takes form, is within the letter bet. And so everything that we end up going through and all of those traumas are connected to that. And we have to walk through those revelations as they come, those triggers, those things when we get stirred out of our absolute perfected state of peace, which is shalom. It's just an invitation for us to go in and to excavate, to find out what is it that we need to turn. And as soon as you turn your shadow, the glory of God is revealed, Shekinah. Because that is moving you into that absolute state of being. And that's when the Aleph gets added as you have entered into that absolute, because you turned a state which you weren't, which is a lie. It's like, it's not even real, because what is real is Aleph, is you in your absolute state of being. But we've journeyed into the Bet, which means we have to travel through all the letters now, because we chose, for the sake of experience, every single letter is an experience in your journey, as a signpost marker, so you know where you're at, so that you can get all the way and complete it, and then enter back into one again, the Holy One, as the mystery of the many who are one, the Aleph.